I'm going to keep this video as short and non-referential as possible. As such, there will be no images or names of any gacha games to allow you, the viewer, to make your own connections and thoughts on what I'm going to be talking about. This also excuses me from being blamed for targeting or defending one single community unfairly, as this is more broad strokes from my experience in multiple gacha game communities, subreddits, discords, Twitter spheres, Facebook pages, and so on. Allow me to pose a hypothetical question. You and some friends, or people who also play a game you enjoy, are peacefully talking about said game, discussing upcoming story events, new characters, or whatever else is happening in the game at the time. Then, while the group is talking, someone who was either not talking beforehand and or isn't known by anyone calls everyone who is talking about the game a stereotype that's associated with it. Nothing in the discussion was related to that stereotype, but they still felt the urge to say it. Upon looking into the post-history of this person, you find that they are a major fan of another gacha game, rival to your game or not. This also applies to fans of different characters or factions within games. This behavior is not limited to one fan community or player base of a gacha game, as it can be observed throughout most, if not all, gacha game communities. Tribalism's context in this situation relates to the discriminatory behavior towards outgroups, bias towards in-groups, and the social identity theory of it all. To begin, in-groups and out-groups are social groups that you do or don't identify with, respectively, like a sports team you enjoy versus their rivals, for example. Some phenomena associated with both the tribalism observed in gacha games and in/out groups are in-group favoritism, group polarization, out-group derogation, and group homogeny. Simply put, you perceive your in-group as better than the out-groups. The out-groups are mostly the extremes of that group, and the out-groups being different from the in-groups is bad. This favoritism is usually displayed in ways of feeling superior to the out-group, such as feeling morally, mentally, or physically superior. When it comes to gacha games, it's usually the morally superior side of things. Games having better characters, stories, gameplay elements, soundtracks, and even communities are some of the usual reasons given to why their in-group gacha game is better than the out-group. But this bias blinds those observing the faults in their own in-group, as more often than not, both groups have similar faults and people who ignore those faults. Logically, there should be no conflict between these gacha game communities, as they have little to no reason or events where they would interact with each other outside of, game awards, for example. But that's believing that people who play these games and people in general will behave logically, and that there will be no instigators from either side provoking reactions or attacks to the other. These attacks are, more often than not, generally unfounded misconceptions, stereotypes, overgeneralizations, preconceptions, and prejudices that are commonly spread throughout the other communities and the internet in general. The instigators usually attack these other communities either out of contempt, want of attention from the reactions, whether it be good or bad, or what they believe to be revenge. Now, more often than not, I know I use that a lot, the majority of the player base in the community of these gacha games don't take such actions or display such behavior, keeping to themselves or interacting with multiple communities neutrally or positively. But the vocal minority is usually the loudest, and in turn, because of their more noticeable actions, they become representatives for that community through their harassment and actions towards others, turning the instigators from problems for other communities into problems for all. This video isn't meant to be a call to action, or a call to unite against these people and stereotypes, but to acknowledge this superiority complex that's prevalent throughout most gacha game communities that they have about their own game compared to others. Face the facts. Your game and its community isn't this perfect utopia that you believe it to be, and the games and their communities you dislike aren't cesspits that you think they are. I would bet very good money that the people who believe that other games are inferior to theirs have a very, very basic surface level knowledge and understanding of said other games, and have not tried it significantly enough, if at all. Their interactions come from interacting with instigators, seeing advertisements, or secondhand knowledge more often than not. Feeling called out, targeted, or described in any way, shape, or form? Good. You're part of the problem, and remain permanently upset about being called out. People like you are what make gacha games so unenjoyable. Nothing can be enjoyable because of you, your in-group, and the games you play must always be superior to others. In a game with no real-world consequences, and that will, at most, get a, "oh, that's nice, sweetie," from your parents. I pity you for being this sad, honestly. Needing the negative attention from others for that little bit of human interaction and attention that you're so starved for. Here, take mine. Use it as an infinite resource. Keep playing this video over. Tell me to cope, seethe, mauled, sneed, and whatever other buzzword that the internet has come up with to describe being mad, and brushing it off like anything else. Lord knows that even if you do listen, you won't change regardless of what I say. But if you do, here's some advice. Be more self-aware of your biases and actions and practice a little introspection. Ask yourself why you even defend or attack these games that you play or don't. And I'll again bet good money that you have no good reason to do so outside of social identity, in-groups, and out-groups. I guarantee that no one thinks better of you because you dissed or defended a game or a massive multi-million corporation, or at most will tell you to just shut up. Not my community, I hear some of you say. No, yeah, you're a community as well. Take off your rose-tinted goggles for half a second and look at your in-group. No gacha game community is innocent of not doing this. Remaining ignorant of the situation, or even worse, defending people who take these hostile actions, only makes the overall gacha community worse. This applies to attacking others for their favorite characters, events, music, voice actors, factions, and of course other games. In short, if you make fun of games for no reason outside of they're different, I sincerely hope you find a better way of getting attention or feeling part of a group that you subconsciously want. Cope, seethe, maul, whatever in the comments about how your game is actually superior to the rest and how I'm wrong, whatever. Shove your superiority complex up your ass and go fuck yourself.